What is up, y'all? It is your boy Winston Wolf. I'm back. I just want to do a quick review, and this is not. It's gonna be more of an angry rant than a review. This movie, I've seen terrible movies. I've seen awful movies. I've seen garbage movies. I've seen movies where everybody involved should be executed. I've seen terrible shows. But this is just. I don't know. This is so bad because to me, film is the greatest art form. So when I see something just totally like an opportunity, like this money could have went to some indie filmmaker, to some other project that actually would have been something. You know, that actually would have helped out a young filmmaker or somebody who would go on to have an illustrious career of making people happy and winning awards and all that, but instead they waste it on a garbage Elizabeth Banks project. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being the head of a studio or just whoever's financing it and being like, yes, we're going to give Elizabeth Banks 50 mil to do a movie. Can you imagine that even coming out of your mouth without you saying, nah, I'm just joking right after it? Like legitimately giving this hack, this dumb failure of a woman any money to make anything. Like, she's a stupid human being. We've already proved this. She made a garbage flop Charlie's Angels movie that nobody likes. That they're still to this day. Look it up on you. You're already on YouTube. Look it up. Look at how many YouTubers make movies about why and how big of a failure that her Charlie's Angels movie was. And look at the newest one. Maybe 4 months ago, and that movie came out what 5 years ago. 4 years ago, something like that. That's how big of a trash dumpster fire it was. So, but this movie, this is one of those movies like Smoking Aces, and I don't care what you say. If you think Smoking Aces is a good movie, you're an idiot. So you should probably watch this garbage movie. But it's a movie like Smoking Aces. It's a movie like that piece of trash I refuse to watch, Bullet Train, to where a bunch of cornball lames sat around and was like, you know what would be cool? This would be cool. You can't just manufacture cool. You're either cool or you're not cool. All right? There's no planning cool. Unless you're a person that everything they do is cool. You know, like a Quentin Tarantino or a Scorsese. And even him, with that Irishman, woo! That was... You're really testing our patience, Martin, with that one. But, you know, there are some people that can plan cool and they can pull it off. And Elizabeth Banks is not a name that you throw out when you think of somebody that can accomplish that. So what the movie is about is pretty much what you know about it. It's a bunch of cocaine. It gets ditched over some woods. There's different groups of people. Like I said, this is like a Smoking Aces, Bullet Train, to where there's just different groups of different types of people converging for one event, one cause, one purpose, whatever it is. And they're all converging in the forest because there's cocaine there. So there's like a national parks ranger. There's some people that work for the people that like lost the dope. They work for Ray Liotta, which is a shame. This is Ray Liotta's last movie. How? So then there's some little kids. Carrie Russell is the mom of one of them. But it's just, and let me just real quick, I just took some notes because let's see, opens with, okay, so this is how hacky everything is. Their big opening shot is there's a guy getting ready to skydive with the coke out of a plane and he bumps his head. And then they go right into the credits and everything. You know what I'm saying? That was their opening shot to let you know what kind of movie you were in store for. The kind of high quality humor and writing that Elizabeth Banks brings to every garbage product. And let's see, what's the next? And I'm not going to edit. I'm just going to read the notes because this doesn't deserve any kind of editing. It doesn't deserve. So let's see. Okay, it's supposed to be set in the 80s. Nothing about it feels like the 80s. Nothing feels like the 80s. They could have put some kind of filter, dirtied the film up a little bit. You know, put some crackle in the audio, something so that it feels like a movie from the 80s. They didn't even bother doing that. They just had some... This is how they made you think it was the 80s. They had cars that fit the period. They had a couple radio hits from that period. And they had Ice Cube's, and I'm going to get to this, his fat son wearing some Air Jordan 1s. That's it. That's as much effort as they put into making a period piece. The next note is Ice Cube's fat son. Ice Cube definitely has his father's genetics. Ice Cube's son. He is fat. How is somebody that has a promising career, granted, he does not have skill. I think people, they were just amazed of how terrible an actor Ice Cube was, and that his son could actually just do a serviceable job, not even a good job, that they were amazed that just like by default, they're just like, oh, he's a great actor, considering who his father is, considering his father's been doing movies for over 30 years. Think about this. Ice Cube and Ice-T have been doing movies for over 30 years with classically trained actors, and yet neither of them have picked up what acting is even in the least bit. They are terrible. So of course you would look at his son by comparison and be like, okay, he's a good actor. But to acting, no. And for him to just totally not care enough just to let himself go like that, like, dude, he's probably in his late 20s. If he isn't, he's in his very early 30s, 30, 31. For you to just, like, ruin opportunities that have been... Dude, your life has been handed to you. I'm talking to Ice Cube's son now. Your life has been handed to you. The least you could do is not be a fat dork in these movies. Like, the studio... I don't know if Ice Cube's son knows this. The studio will pay for a trainer. They'll pay for that stuff. You don't even have to pay for it. They'll come to your house. They'll even hire you a chef to make you healthy food so you don't end up how you look now. But he just doesn't care. And also, go back and look at... Remember the sequel to Triple X that had Ice Cube in it? I remember, and I've never seen that garbage movie. But I remember the commercials at the time. There was a quick shot of Ice Cube jumping to grab onto the bottom of a helicopter. And I remember just being like, he's wearing like a black long sleeve, black pants. And I remember just being like, dude, you're starring in an action movie and you couldn't even be bothered to even try to not be fat. Like, you just, it's just ridiculous. And it's, that just shows you how serious everybody took. And granted, I think these lost individuals, these dumb actors that signed on to this, the idiot, dumb, bird brain director, the producers, everybody, I without a doubt think that they thought this was going to be such a cool thing. It's like, you know what, we're going to get a jump on those summer movies. We're gonna set the tone for summer with our Cocaine Bear movie. We're gonna show them how a movie is done. It's garbage. So Han Solo is in it, and I remember people, Aaron Eidenreich or whatever his German Nazi last name is. I remember people being like, "Man, this Han Solo movie ruined his career," and I was like, "I've seen a lot of actors in some garbage movies, and it's not like how it used to be, to where you like get typecast and stuff." Like, you'll still have another chance. No, they proved me wrong with this. His career's over. Alden Heidenreich or whatever his name is, yeah. But I do hope they do the Lando Calrissian show with what's his name, Childish Gambino, and I hope he pops up in it. So, you know, come on, give him another shot with that. We can get Darth Maul. Let's get that going. But yeah, he's in it and stinks in it. As does everybody. Let's see. Last note. Okay, it's one of those movies where nobody acts normal. Everybody is like wacky. It's like if they tried to make one of those cornball lame Mel Brooks movies today. And I don't care what you say. Spaceballs, yeah, when I was a little kid. Because you had limited Star Wars stuff and it was Star Wars related and it just had the visuals. Yes, as a little kid, I thought it was okay. But if you're an adult and you're saying Spaceballs is good, just... there's plenty of high things you can jump off, and there's, like, concrete below. Just find some of that. Make sure you go head first, though. But that's what this movie reminds me of. It reminds me of those old cornball Mel Brooks. And I'm not talking about Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein. Those get a pass. Those get a pass. But the rest of his garbage, filmography. No, and this reminds me of it, and it's like, and so, and I know someone's gonna be like, "Oh, you want a serious cocaine bear?" Yes, yes. Can you imagine David Ayer? Can you imagine going to date? And I'm talking about Fury David Ayer. I ain't talking about Bright David Ayer. All right, I'm talking about Fury David Ayer being like David Ayer. I want a movie about a bear high off bricks of cocaine, straight giving it to people. That's the only request I have. Go. Man, you would have had something worthy. But the one good part of this movie, so the bear is chasing behind an ambulance. The back doors of the ambulance are open. There's the park ranger lady is strapped to a gurney. So she's strapped down. There's one of the paramedics is kind of hanging on the door, almost falling out of the back. And then there's a paramedic driving. And the bear is just running behind it. And they're just like, go, go, go. So the bear jumps, gets in there, throws the park ranger who's strapped in the gurney, throws her out the back, and she lands face first onto the concrete while she's still strapped in. And she just goes sliding, and her face just like gets scraped almost all the way off. Then he starts giving it to the paramedic, just biting the top of his head. Then the paramedic driving panics, hits a tree, she goes flying through the windshield. Right there, when you watch that part, if you're ever unfortunate enough to watch this movie, just imagine if they had a whole movie of that. And when you're watching that part, notice how your feelings and your attention and just the satisfaction in what you're watching changes. And then immediately just goes back to like disappointment and like a scrunched up look on your face because you're like, what? How did this get made? Like, what? I don't know. This is one of the movies that I would I would eventually, there needs to be like a podcast that deep dives into the making of just catastrophic films. Because I so badly want to see a documentary about Blade 3, the making of Blade 3 so bad. If I could wish for any documentary to be made, it would be about that. A good 2.5 hour documentary about that. I would love it. But if there was like a podcast that existed that covered things like this and did it, I would love to hear one about Blade 3. But this movie, already, just watched it. I would just love, because I would love some candid interviews from them with people just, you know what I'm saying? Just, go out to the bar with some of the actors and be like, so when did you know that this was just... And there's no way these actors could have been like positive through the whole thing and been like, yeah, this is going great. This is right. And especially Alden Ehrenreich, he had to have been like, after that disaster of the making of Han Solo, maybe like 2 days into this, he had to be like, what have I done to deserve this? This Hollywood purgatory, what have I done? 0 to 10 dog bones, 0. It's trash. It's garbage. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I'm not lying to you. We've all seen terrible movies. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It is garbage. It is trash juice. Whatever description you want to give to the worst things in mankind, the worst things imaginable, it's this. Cocaine Bear should be the new, you go to a new hamburger joint. You taste it. It's, your friend, how is it? It's Cocaine Bear. That should be the new slang for anything that is just putrid. That shouldn't exist. That's just, it's one of the worst things mankind has ever produced. It's like this. The atomic bomb, Cocaine Bear. It's right there next to the atomic bomb as far as just ungodly things man has made. Don't watch it. That's all I warned you. You're going to watch it. You're going to watch it because you're going to be hanging out with some girl that you want to get with or somebody, or you're just going to be like, yeah, that idiot. One of my friends showed me some idiot on YouTube with a wolf mask, and he was talking about how terrible it was. But, I mean, it's a bear high of cocaine. How bad can it be?